But here's the thing. If a company wants to avoid having to do layoffs and severance packages, they can just demand back to the office. And if you don't come, well, you don't have a job. You just quit. You just saved me from having to do a whole bunch of layoffs as the business, right? It's a really smart move because they're probably going to replace your job with AI anyway. Welcome to the Kingspiration Podcast. This is the place where you'll learn how to get unstuck and gain momentum in your life and business. Each week, we tackle the real aspects of entrepreneurship, personal development, relationships, and fitness. I'm your co-host, Ethan King, from Atlanta, Georgia, USA, entrepreneur, TEDx speaker, and best-selling author of Wealth Beyond Money.
And I'm your co-host, Justin King, no relation to Ethan, from Cape Town, South Africa, entrepreneur, speaker, and business growth strategist. Our journey crosses continents and cultures, sharing wisdom and experiences to propel you forward. Welcome to Kingspiration. Let's start the conversation.
So, Ethan, I've seen an article speaking about the fact that General Motors, is in the process of laying off 1,000 of its workers currently. And this is, they've been speaking about the fact that they're wanting to save or cut operational expenses by $2 billion by the end of this year, the end of their financial year. So that is one part of it. And then they speak about wanting to drive efficiencies. And they speak about speeding up their efficiencies and speeding up their delivery of excellence. And the interesting thing, the thing that really stood out, well, let me take a step back. They've got 150,000 employees or workers across the globe. So it's a relatively small number when we consider that. But it's 1,000 of their white collar workers, which I found quite interesting. And that makes up almost half of they've got 76,000 white collar workers. So it's 1,000 of their white collar workers, not necessarily of their factory staff, of their blue collar workers. And that really, that stood out for me because there's been a lot of concerns and fear around what is happening with regards to AI and is it going to start replacing people's jobs? And the immediate thought is jobs that get replaced, and bear with me, this is going to sound, I'm trying to find a word. This isn't meant to create a pecking order, but in general, you ordinarily think that the jobs that are going to be replaced by new technologies are the ones that are more manual. But in the case of AI, I think the jobs that are potentially threatened are the knowledge worker jobs, the ones that are less about doing the hard work, rolling up your sleeves, getting your hands dirty. And I was wondering, is now the best time or a great time to focus on a trade, thinking about what are the great trades, and whether it's just some of the easiest electricians, plumbers, people that have to actually use their hands to get stuck in, is now a great time to focus on the trade. And knowledge workers are the ones that should be concerned about AI taking their spot. What are your thoughts?
Yeah. Well, you know what first comes to mind is, it reminds me of a few years ago when people used to say, you need to Amazon proof your business. And this is because Amazon was, and they still are, they want to be in every industry. Like Jeff Bezos literally said, we're the everything store, right? So if you're in a business that sells books, obviously, it's not a good business to be in because Amazon is taking that over. If you're in a business, if you just sell any type of widgets or even, accessories, trinkets, and it's just a commodity-based item, it's easy for Amazon to quickly put you out of business unless you get on their platform. And then now they're taking a huge cut of your sales. So that had me thinking, well, what business can I get in that is Amazon proof? And that's one reason why, my business is Zeus's Closet. Like, we're highly customized products. Amazon isn't in that they're a long way off from that. Now they do a little bit of personalization, but nowhere near the level we do it. So that's been, with every consideration of every product line and so forth, I'm like, how can we make sure I don't want to get into something that could step into tomorrow and ruin that? So now we're at this point with AI where everyone should really be thinking about, whether you're an employee or a business owner, you should really be thinking about, is this AI proof? How fast will AI get into the trade that I'm looking into getting into? Because it's not a matter of if, it's really just a matter of when, right? It's going to be a year from now or 100 years from now. Even sales positions. I'm evaluating different software now with these AIs can do calls. I mean, and it sounds so real. And you can program the AI with your company's knowledge base, and someone can have a full conversation with an AI that sounds like a human, but is actually really helpful. And then if the AI can't handle it, then of course they can transfer you to a human. But there are more and more of these popping up, and they're getting better and better. So even a sales job isn't safe anymore. So yeah, is it safer now to be a plumber or a barber? You go back to these trades, they probably are more AI proof. So that's something to definitely consider.
Yeah, and so on the point that you were making now, how do employees, because it's one thing to be the business owner and have that mindset of how do I make my business AI proof? What do you think employees can do that are potentially in those seats that are going to be challenged and threatened by AI to make themselves AI proof? Or rather than to be sitting there in fear, how do they leverage AI in order to enhance what they're doing rather than necessarily just be replaced? What are your thoughts on that?
Right. Yeah, you need to study AI and learn how to be the builder of AI tools. You really need to understand it so that you're not a victim of it, but you know how to use it like a tool. It's like either do that or, focus on a trade that's not going to be affected by AI for a long time, or both. And I mean, if you're an employee, you can do this through any type of continuing education, online courses, books, and so forth. But you've got to take your future in your own hands and really enhance your knowledge of AI, because you're going to be left behind quickly if you don't do that.
I like what you said. You used the term "you're going to become the builder," and I think that's exactly it. It's how do you, and it's that change of the mindset. It's the shift in the lens of being terrified of AI versus I'm going to use it as a tool that's going to enhance the role that I play within this organization. And what may have been a concern about losing your job may actually be a catalyst for promotion in the organization.
That's right.
That's the way we've got to be looking at it. And then when we jump over to the trade side, trades are an interesting one for me. I think that trades are the undercover entrepreneurs of the future. The undercover, because entrepreneurship, let me say that, let's change that, because you can be an entrepreneur and be in a trade. So that doesn't make sense what I just said. But tech entrepreneurs, that has been made so sexy in a lot of media. But I think trades going forward, there's going to be something both endearing and there's going to be longevity in doing things which require blood, sweat, and tears, rolling up your sleeves and getting your hands dirty. But I still think there's a role that AI is going to be playing in those businesses as well.
Yeah.
Top of my head, I'm just trying to think. One of the best stories of a business, a trade leveraging, it wasn't AI, but just leveraging technology at the time. And I'm sure you come across this. It was one of the typical scaling up stories around the business was in the garden, in the landscaping space, landscaping business. And typically, in order to get sales across the line, you had to visit every home, go and measure out the garden by hand in order to be able to provide the quotation. And it was obviously a very limited amount of time. And I cannot for the life of me remember the business's name, but they started doing this just based on Google Maps. They got into Google Maps or Google Earth at the time, were able to, with pretty decent accuracy, estimate the size of the garden and then give a quote within 5 minutes rather than 24 hours. And their business just exploded. So the same principle. How did those trade-based businesses start to leverage AI and other technologies?
Yeah, that's a good. In fact, a couple of years ago, we had a fence put up around our house, or we had to get it repaired. And when we got the fence built, someone had to come out, measure, do all that. But now this new fence company, they were like, "Oh no, we don't have to come out." And they went on Google Earth or Google Satellite and did the measurements and they emailed me like the same day a rendering of how the fence would look and a cost estimate and everything. So yeah, you have to leverage tech no matter what industry you're in. And we just had a guy. Here's another great example is right now it's the end of the year. We're recording this at the end of 2024. The weather is getting colder here in the US, and one of the heaters in my house went out. It's not blowing out heat, which is an issue because it's on the main floor. So we called the HVAC company. Well, AI can't fix that. A human has to come out to knock on your door, come down and look at the furnace and see what's going on and diagnose it. So I was down there talking to the guy as he was looking at my furnace, and he was trying to diagnose the problem. But of course, he has it hooked up to a computer that's telling him the readout. So at some point, I don't know how much AI is involved in that diagnostics tool, but I think at some point, that's where AI might come in, is something like that. But you still need the manual part until a robot comes and knocks on your door and And, maybe that's, I don't know, maybe we're 50, 100 years out from that till a robot comes out and fixes your AC unit for you.
We are living in the time of Elon Musk, so that could be 6 months from now. You never
He's
know.
six. Maybe we'll see. Yeah, he predict that there'll be more humanoid robots. What do you say? The next 10 years?
Yeah, what came to mind now was 30 years, but it was, I
Oh.
mean, whether it's 10 or whether it's 30, I mean, I would trust you more than I trust me, Ethan, but whether it's 10 or whether it's 30, I think it's frightening to think that there are going to be more robots than there are, or humanoids than there are people on
Well,
the
if you
planet.
think about it, I don't know if this is true, but there are probably more iPhones than there are people, or more smartphones than there are people, because smartphones have been out for so long. We've accumulated, I don't know how many old iPhones I have in a drawer in my closet, and some I've traded in, but you just accumulate them. So it'll be the same with robots. New models come out every year, and you have one robot that does this and another that does this. And it'll be normal for each of us to have 5 robots, humanoid robots walking around.
But maybe this conversation is going all over. But maybe what does Musk mean by humanoid? Does it mean like is it humanoid because it's a life-like robot, or could a humanoid be? And this sounds like a very very ignorant question. A tiny little robot that does one particular job sitting on your desk at home.
I think what he's talking about is the actual robots that walk around and do things
Crazy.
in
Yeah,
house. That
that's
I think
crazy.
it's going to be $20,000 each
Yeah.
starting out, maybe. And of course, technology is going to get cheaper and cheaper, and it's going to get better and better. No, I think that he was specifically referring to that. But I do think that we will also have other little robots that do different things for us that don't necessarily need to walk around. But back to this layoff thing, a lot of it is because of AI. There's another thing I've noticed, and you could use this information to your advantage on either front, whether you're an employee or the business owner. There have been more and more calls back to the office, and a lot of people are resisting. I'm reading the comments on social media, and people are upset because Amazon is requiring everyone to come back to the office 5 days a week now. And I'm like, well, guys, five days a week in the office, that was normal, but people are really have gotten used to doing hybrid work from home type things or full work from home, and are very resistant to come back to the office. But here's the thing. If a company wants to avoid having to do layoffs and severance packages, they could just demand back to the office. And if you don't come, well, you don't have a job. You just quit. You just saved me from having to do a whole bunch of layoffs as the business, right? It's a really smart move because they're probably going to replace your job with AI anyway. I don't know how it is in South Africa, but there seems to be this spirit of not wanting to work in general in the US. Definitely not wanting to come into an office, but people seem a little bit allergic to work. And I don't know if that's the right attitude to have when your job can now be more easily replaced with AI. I think we really need to take initiative and again, go back to focusing on how can I be the builder? How can I leverage these tools so that I'm not a victim of circumstance?
Yeah, it's an interesting. The allergic to work. I think South Africans are globally known as very hard workers, but maybe that's, and we are. And a lot of the time that will be seen because we've got so many of us, so many expats, so many of us have moved all over the world that is readily seen. But at the same time, within our businesses and within our employee laws, it's very difficult to actually manage somebody out of a business. And we can't just fire. We cannot fire on the spot in South Africa. It doesn't work like that, which it's great because it provides some sense of security. But at the same time, it also means that it's a hell of a process. There's a lot of paperwork involved, and it takes a long time to remove somebody who, to your point now, is just lazy and just doesn't want to work. And they just, as we all say, are just taking the piss by the way that they are showing up day in and day out. Whereas I
So
know
you can't, are you referring to layoffs, or like what if somebody steals from your company? You could just fire that then, right?
you would have to, there would still be a process for sure. And obviously, I mean, in the US as well, you'd have to provide proof. I'm guessing that has actually happened. But there would be the certain serious offenses where you would have to do that, but you wouldn't be able to just walk into somebody's office and say, right, this isn't working. Your performance hasn't been up to scratch, and I want you out of here by the end of the day. That can't happen. You would have to be tracking over a period of a few months, written warnings, what performance improvement plans or what have you done to upskill that particular employee in those particular areas? As an employer, have you done everything possible to get the employee to the state of being able to deliver the level of work that you're wanting to? That's essentially, in a nutshell, what you would have to provide proof on. So, sorry, we are really going all over now, but it is an interesting one, and I think there will always be I think there's certain individuals that look for the shortcuts and the lazy way and not wanting to necessarily do the work. But then there'll be certain individuals who look for the shortcuts, but the smart ways. They're wanting to work smarter and not harder. So they're still delivering value at the end of the day. And they will be the ones that leverage AI to not allow them just to sit back and not do anything, but in order to basically elevate themselves to the next level, deliver more, potentially look for those promotion opportunities. So those are the individuals that, again, I think we get worried about AI, but it does present so many opportunities. And I think there are going to be a lot of people that, well, we have already seen it, that start leveraging, gravitating towards the opportunities that are being presented rather than being terrified of them.
Yeah. I think if I were to try to land this plane, I would say anyone listening to this, if you think that you'll catch on to this AI wave one day, or you'll start looking into it one day, you're probably already a little bit too late. Like, take the time now to learn how to leverage these tools. You don't have to be a programmer or anything to that extent, but know how to interface with AI and how to leverage it to get your job done more efficiently, so that you can be more valuable in the workplace. That's a wrap for today's episode of Kingspiration. We hope this conversation sparked insights to ignite action in your life and business.
We're on this journey together, sharing our challenges and successes to help all of us take the next step towards building momentum and ultimately reaching our goals.
If you found value in today's episode, please share it with someone else who might benefit and leave us a 5-star review.
And remember to hit subscribe so you don't miss out on our weekly conversations. Until next time, keep rolling, keep growing, and keep being inspired.